You start by addressing those fears and biased belief systems one by one. It's about taking that journey back, you guys. My guided journey, the one I talk about, especially on Wednesdays, okay, and help you with. You must remember, here's the key. You must remember how to arrive at your desired destination using only your resources. That means from who you really are. The only way you're going to get to your desired destination is to figure out who you really are. Not where people say to you, they go, who do you think you are? That's an insult. That's a slap in the face. That is where it's not okay for you to be who you are. And that's not true. They say that to you because they aren't being who they are. And they think the fact that you're being who you are, that you took the liberty to be who you are, that you are conceited. Who do you think you are? That's how they feel.
I know.
That's what it is. And it happens all the time. People say that all the time.
They're insulted.
They are, what's the right word for that? Yeah, they are insulted, right? They're insulted that you have the audacity.
That's not the word I would have used, but that's a good word.
To be who you are. Who do you think you are? I'm me. I'm having fun at this. I'm in my bliss. I'm loving my life. That's when they notice that you're being who you are, and it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. It really, really offends them. All right? If they're not being who they are. If they are being who they are, they look at you being who you are, and they actually learn from that. They're like, there's something about this person that fits me, that feels good, that feels right, feels honest. It feels like me, but maybe I'm just not as
bold.
Yeah, as free to be openly who you are. But you know what? Behind the scenes, inside yourself, you are, if you appreciate that, you are being who you are. You're just not really letting everyone notice that you're being who you are, okay? You're kind of careful because you learned along the way that you could get waylaid from the people in this world, okay, for being who you are. It's really a shame, you guys, that society has turned into this, that this has become the common denominator. It's very sad.
So people who say that to you, who do you think you are? They're insulted because you're doing something that they can't or aren't doing.
They don't have permission, right?
So if you gave them permission, it would be okay to do what you're doing.
Well, if they had permission to be who they were, they'd already be who they are. They wouldn't be what they became as a result of trying to please everybody, because they said, you have to think like this, you have to do things like this, you have to love these kind of people, you have to hang out with these kind of people. In order to be accepted by us, whoever that is, your family, your tribe, your whatever, your people you work with, if you're not doing those things, then you just don't fit, okay? But it doesn't matter if you fit or not. I talk about this in Guided, about the whole time, ever since I could remember, I just was who I was. And I was minding my own business. I was completely absorbed in what I was doing. I was inspired by everything I was doing. And if anybody happened to pass me by and say, well, what are you doing? And I'd tell them I'm playing around with this, or I'm trying to learn this, or I'm doing that. I wasn't necessarily a master at what I was doing. So there's really no reason for them to be jealous of me, but I was in the throes of it, and I was completely absorbed by it, okay? So they were like, who do you think you are? Like, ignore me to put that above having a friendship with me, okay? Somebody that I noticed had an edge on them, and I just thought, I really I'm not going to enjoy being with them, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. you know. My life has been a product of one project after another that I could absorb myself into, all right? I was being totally who I was without anybody threatening it, okay? But I was devoid of interpersonal relationships, and that became a big issue for me after, once I turned, just about the time I turned into my 30s, where the guides brought it to my attention, Linda, it's time for you to work out your personal skills with other people. You can't just be isolated from all that and just do all the things you love. You've got to balance out your life now. I'll tell you what, that was a hard thing for me. That was a very hard thing for me, because I would rub people the wrong way because I was so good at treating myself to a life that I loved, indulging in a life like that. Okay, who did I think I was?
How dare you do that?
You see, so even if you're true to yourself and you make that connection and you're living in both worlds and now you're in one piece, okay, and now you found your bliss and you move that way, okay, and you're loving your projects, you're loving what you're creating, what you're doing, what you're learning, how you're living. The people around you may not be so happy for you. Who do you think you are? I have to always laugh about it, but at the same time, it's something to pay attention to because, it's a problem. So anyway, what do we have, Ray?
Well, we have a lively crowd. We have Kimberly, Jay Handy, Kathy.
One thing I want to say about this before Ray moves on to your questions. When you work on who it is that you think you are, the common examples that you see all the time are people like, I'm a person who is intolerant of others. People will think the negatives, okay? And it might even be true. You've lived your life up to now, let's say, where you haven't been who you are. You haven't known who you are. You have been afraid to even go that way, okay? So then you start feeling like, you start seeing people that are self-serving, and a self-serving person with their thinking, deeds, and money. They're stingy. They're the little bit that they feel like they have control over their life for lack of being who they are, missing that big part of them. They pile up all these other superficial things around them. Not that money isn't important, but the thinking and the deeds and the way that they go about life, they're not pleasant people to be around, because they're not. These people, you might look at somebody who's stingy and selfish and greedy and Scrooge. Okay, let's just say somebody radical like that. And it bothers you to see somebody like they've got all these resources, they could help so many people, but they're not doing it. That's because they lack who they are. They feel like they need all this protection, all these resources to keep people away from them so they'll be okay. It's desperation. It's really based in fear and lack. So if you feel any part of this, the thing I want to say to you guys is you have to be painfully truthful about where you are not being who you are and what is preventing it. What is it that's going on in your life? Is it the people in your life, the job you do? Is it the debt you got yourself into and you take on all these jobs just to support the debt, and it's like you throw yourself on a bed of nails. You're the big sacrifice, okay? Are you doing that? If you are, I want you to know that that's not who you are. That's who you have defaulted into being as a consequence of the pressure that led up to your life thus far. So you really have to get in there and point out the things to yourself. You know the things you are that you like. You're proud of them, and you should be proud of them. But where is it? Where's the little parts of you, or maybe some big part of you over here that's stubborn, and you can't seem to get over the part of you that isn't able to be who you are, where you're not really living up to that. and how you're behaving badly in some form, some way, as a result of it. It's going to show up. You got to write it. Here I go again. Here she goes. Part 3 of My Guided Journey. You've got to start logging the things that need improvement. Don't be hard on yourself, but start logging the things that need improvement. If you're around people who are not letting you be who you are, part 3, start writing it down. This is for your eyes only, okay? You've got to start showing it to yourself so that when you do write it down, and then in review, when you review back on these things, some of it's really good. Some of it's really real, painstakingly truthful. Ow! Okay, some of it, you've got to put it in here, you guys, because you're not going to be able to be who you are, okay, all the time. There's a way to do it.
Okay. So Kim has a comment.
Okay.
I think we should tie this into how it affects who she thinks she is. Okay?
Good, Ray, good.
I know her emotions, I know my emotions have always been overly sensitive. I cry very easily, and I have really no reason besides what she just heard or watched on TV, and it will make her cry.
Yeah.
I can even be thinking of something that I heard about and burst into tears. They don't last long, but I truly feel that I'm overly sensitive and want my guide's insight on why I'm like that and how I can maybe take control of that issue.
So the question here, Kimberly, in alignment with our theme today, who do you think you are, is do you really know who you are? Is that what's hurting you? Or is it because you know who you are that it's hurting you? Okay, let's take a look at that. And we're going to have your guides speak to you about that, you know, straight up. And here they go.
Kimberly, you may call it being overly sensitive, but what it actually is an emotional response to an incongruous situation or event. When something happens that causes you to cry, it can't be masked over by just saying that's the way it is, but you must look at what it is that, what is it, about the situation that makes you sad or mad or glad or wish it was different. Okay,
I'll use an example of that just to help this along for all of you. When you feel something and it touches your heart, it's nobody else is crying, but you feel it, really feel it, all right? There's something about your life, about you, that is bringing attention to something that you relate to regarding what you just saw or experienced or heard. There's something that it triggered in you that you need to, part 3, what you use this for, you guys. You start out in part 3. I want to say that I even added a paragraph to the part 3 part, that in order to identify what's going on in part 2, because part 2 it gets in there. It really gets to the point where you get your life back. You know who you are when you're done with part 3. You are back together in one healthy whole and have all the power and capability of moving forward with that and get to live the life you intended. That's the whole point to this, okay? So you start writing out what all these little things like you brought up, Kimberly, in part 3, so you can begin to start tracking this. You've got it here, and then here's another time it happened, and this is what they were talking about, and this is what it brought out in you here. And here it was another incident where somebody said something and it triggered that. Any trigger is a doorway you have to unlock to get into, to revisit this early part of you where it all began, where you learned to stuff it down, okay, and hide it and exclude it, from your life, so that this world, you'd be accepted in this world. But when those things happen, those triggers, it's reminding you that there's something back here that's blocking you from coming back into this world fully, okay? You've got to be here fully, because there's no cheating. There's no going around it, going under it, going over it. You've got to go through it, okay? Through it means go back and find it. Find out where this began. What that trigger was goes in part 3, and then you go back into part 2, and you look for the chapter that it's calling out. Okay, that's the time in my life. That's when it began. That's when it started, okay? And then you can start identifying what that was. That's what this is all about. You've got to heal that stuff. You've got to retrieve you, okay, and bring it into this world, but not where, what happened earlier, I said in earlier videos, is that you've got this part of you got scared off, okay, from all the intensity of this world, okay? So this part of you got scared off. This part of you needs to come back, and it's going to take some time. It's cautious. It got scared off. It's leery of this part of you, the part of you in this world that reacts, that comes from ego, that's confused, that doesn't know who it is, okay? It's pretending to know who it is, so it can get through another day, week, month, year, all right? Only to miss your life. So that's really no shortcut. That's actually the long way. So you gotta start bringing this back, and the way you do it, you start writing these things down in part 3, Kimberly. You're going to see fragments of you all through part 3 of my guided journey. As you start to make note of this and bring attention to that and expose this and expose that, then you can go back to part 2 and go, I got this thing. I see what I need to do. I'm beginning to get what hung me up, what stopped me out, what scared me off. Me. This is me. This is the me I'm talking about. Not the one that's learned how to survive in this world. This is not just about surviving. All
right. We've got some new people.
Great.
Oh, Tony. Hi, Tony Hennessy. She joined us.
Great.
Kimberly said that was a good answer. Denise Borlini says she's learning about who she is all the time and she's liking it.
Perfect. That you will like it.
It was a good question, Kimberly. We agree. And Sandra Pelletier joined us.
Great, Sandra.
Somebody left a GIF.
So put up your questions, comments, concerns, or just feelings about who you think you are. Or who do you think you are? We've heard a lot of that. Too much of that, especially if you guys ever dared to be who you are, or you think that you're going to be who you are and you hesitate because the people in your life, they want you to be a certain way. Just like the people you grew up with in your early life wanted you to be a certain way. And you worked with it and you complied with it and you went along with it. And you get to a point in your life where you go, wait a minute, where am I? What happened to me? You're not living your life. You're just dragging a leg. You're dragging a leg through this life, just dragging yourself through, pretending that a lot. You're saying things, well, they didn't mean it, or I really love them, and I don't want to lose them, and or whatever. But at the cost of you not being who you are, that, you guys, that won't hold up, is what I want to say. You can force yourself through another life of doing that, just so you don't, rock the boat. But you're gonna live a life of regret if you do that, if that's your choice.
Go on.
All right, Ray. How you doing there, honey?
Just keep talking.
Okay, Ray. Okay, so you want to get around to your questions. Ray's going to get to that point there. So you need to go back, and I'm just going to repeat this. You need to go back and you need to start writing down where you noticed that you weren't being who you were when you were younger. It's going to be easy to see. If you start writing in part 3, before part 2, about where you feel uncomfortable about being who you are right now, and how that doesn't feel right, and how you feel like you would just rather not be around people after a while because they just won't accept you. I understand what that feels like. And in spite of that feeling, in Guided I talk about it when just on the verge of turning 30, when they said to me, they said, it's time to work out your, interpersonal skills with people. You can't go on like this, Linda. You need to work it out. It still took me another 20 years to work it out. That's how traumatized I was from my early life with the family I was born into about being who I was, because they didn't accept me at all, and it really did traumatize me. It made me put my guard up, and it just made me focus on projects and stuff like that. So is Facebook messing up on you, Ray?
I don't know. Connect you.
So if we have any more questions, Ray.
Please check your stream's connection. Somebody's in there trolling around doing something.
You mean?
Putting shit up there.
Okay, so it looks like we're having a little trouble with the feed on Facebook.
Oh, you're live. You're back live.
Okay. It might be an internet connection. It might be a bandwidth thing. It might be Facebook. Who knows?
It might be a troll that was in there.
Yeah. Okay, Ray. So what are the questions do we have from the...
Well, no more questions, but thank you. Kimberly says thank you. She said it's usually something about children being hurt in some way. That's what kind of triggers her crying.
Yeah, and so that was you, Kimberly. That was you. You need to write about the hurt child in part 3, so you can begin to see it before you start moving to part 2, chapter 1 through 18, to identify where this started and what that was. You're going to get it. This is how you do it, you guys.
So people find out that something triggers them, when they're watching television. And they trace it back to the time that they were a hurt child, and somebody said something in a situation that made them cry. And then 30 years later, they see a movie on TV that has a similar situation where one person's treating the other person the same way, or a similar situation.
And you're literally stunned.
Right.
You
start crying.
Oh my! It's worse than that. I mean, I'll use one example. There's a movie called $1 Million Baby. Clint Eastwood produced this movie.
Yeah.
It had to
Directed it. Mm-hmm.
And directed it. Would you say about 15 years ago,
Yeah.
Ray? And I saw that movie and I just went, it blew my mind. Now, this movie's not real popular. Not a lot of people know about it. It had my name written all over it. Another one is Karina. That's Whoopi Goldberg and she was the star of the movie, and this little white girl. And boy, did that have my name written all over that one too. I mean, I was that little girl with Whoopi. It was so me. And, I just totally, you'll run into these things. And these are big clues into what happened early in your life that formed you. I would say that those things that I noticed in those movies, they formed me because I didn't let them do me in. I didn't let the people and their opinions of me and their, insults or whatever. I didn't take it personally, you guys. I couldn't do it. And the only way I didn't do it was I journaled. I started journaling about 7 years old because I had to understand what the heck was going on here. Nobody saw the world like I did. I had this connection. I was seeing things like my guides, early on. Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, Kimberly has a good observation here. It's kind of funny that even though the people in her life that made her feel like that, like she can't be herself, can't be me,
Right.
or that I had to act a certain way when I was around them, aren't in her life anymore. They're still in her head.
Right. That's why I understand that. Okay, what happened to you, Kimberly, is you took it personally. Okay? It really stuck.
Yep.
But it can be overcome in a healthy way. I'm talking about writing those feelings and those things into part 3. You have to do it. And then you can move back into part 2, identify that chapter, and start telling yourself, reminding yourself what that was back there. Okay? Remember that when you go back to part 2, everybody, and you start working in the journaling part where you're talking about your life, what happened back there, chapter 1 through 18, that you go to the video on my website for blogs, and you go to the one that says, it says 1 hyphen, my guided journey, and you go all the way down to the bottom. It's the first one, Deir, chapter 1, going up to 18. Watch the associated video first. Even after you identify what the heck it is, watch that associated video with that chapter, because it's going to get you in the right mindset so you don't repeat the feeling and the behavior you had when you first got hit with that, when you were young, when you were being who you were. And you didn't expect this world to come in and just go, bam! And this part of you retreats, you know? Yeah.
Okay. Some more people joined us. Stacy and Mona joined us. Kathy says, I was just reflecting back a few days ago and realized that most of my life, I lived in the shadow of somebody else, going where they wanted to go, doing whatever they wanted to do, listening to whatever they wanted to listen to. And now, since she started her spiritual journey, that she started living her own life. I now do the things that I enjoy doing. I listen to the things I want to listen to, and I'm joyously happy 99% of the time. Right on.
Yeah. What you want to do, Kathy, you want to get into the things that irritate you. I know they're there. You've got to get in there, and you've got to get brutally honest about what is still bugging you. When I say bugging you, I'm not talking about this you. The part of you that it bugs is this you, the real you. It's the part of you that knows that this doesn't fit into this, okay? So that you can be fully engaged and connected and functioning as one piece and strong as you move forward. Not arrogant, not cocky, not selfish or anything like that. It's just you are all in on this thing. Now you're finally being yourself, no matter what, okay? No matter who. The people that make it the hardest for us to be who we are our greatest teachers. That's why you want to write about these teachers. You want to write about these characters in part 3. You want to tell the truth. You have to tell the truth here. You already know the good things about you. You don't need to write about those. You need to write about the things that are still, on your plate, things that you're still working out. That's going to get you through this, okay? Once you get through this, you guys, you will never worry about somebody saying, who do you think you are? Just say, wow, I don't know. I just know that every day and every moment of my life, I'm not thinking about who I am. I'm being who I am. And I'm living the life I came here to live. That's what I'm doing. So who do I think I am? That's the person that asked you that doesn't know who they are. And they're offended by you being who you are. Get away from those people, okay?
My mom used to say that to me a lot when I was a kid. She used 2 other words at the end. Who do you think you are, young man? Which was usually an indicator that I was doing something that she didn't approve of. No, I wasn't being a bad kid,
Yeah,
because I can't believe I was ever a bad kid.
you weren't.
I probably wasn't. But whatever I was doing was something that that she could never have gotten away with this when she was a kid, my age, because of her parents maybe been so strict with her, or
that is true. I could see that.
so they really want to do what I was doing.
Yeah. So see, his mother was offended by him being who he was because she couldn't be who she was when she was his age.
There you
She
go.
saw how she was cheated, but she was never cheated. If she had just got the journal
and the first one,
and started writing about where in this life where they stifled her from being who she was. She was spending too much time still trying to please that command. Command. Can you imagine? That's what it is. It's when you're not accepted for who you are, you guys. It's the most insulting, lonely feeling you'll ever know, is when you're not accepted for who you are. So when you have people in your life and they don't accept you for who you are, so you wouldn't dare bring this back and be who you are, it'll never hold up. It'll never stick. And you might force yourself to satisfy these people and sacrifice yourself to not be who you are just to get along with everybody. But it will catch up to you. In some lifetime, you'll have to keep coming back to be who you are. Keep coming back to be who you are. You may as well get around to it.
So Kathy says she still has those little irritations. She really has a strong dislike for most of the things her husband watches on TV. LOL. They must be watching, the Monster Truck Mud Pull channel or the Bass channel or something. Okay, Stacy says she ends up pushing most people out of her life because they all bug her. Because they don't get it, and it's too hard to try to explain it to them.
I totally understand that. You know that I do. Okay. But Stacy, ouch. I got news for you, kid. You got to go back to part 3 and start writing about what that is.
That bugs you.
That bugs you.
Right.
Not a whole bunch of stuff in one writing, but detail each one. Each one deserves its own place in part 3. Start a new page and explain the next one. Start a new page and explain the next one that's bugging you. And the next one. And the next one. You've got to write it down. You won't see it. You can't heal it. You can't come back into play and fully be in this world and not drag a leg unless you see what it is and heal this thing. I'm telling you.
Well, most of the time,
I really wished I didn't have to, and I was forced into it. I couldn't be doing the work I'm doing right now, you guys, with all of you and the way I do this, or even write my book, if I hadn't healed that first. I never would have done that. It took me until I was 62 years old to write and publish Guided. That's a long time. I know what you're talking about, Stacy. I really know.
Like if you were a teacher and you had a class of kids and you were teaching them something and they didn't get it, that would bug you as a teacher. Now, why aren't they getting it? Are they just not paying attention? Are they, their mind someplace else? Are they don't want to be in the class? Or could you be a better teacher?
Absolutely. Could you be? You see, one thing about kids is they're the biggest BS detectors there is, all right? They see right through all your shortcomings and deficiencies, and they kind of look at you and they go, I don't really respect her, That's how they look at it. You don't know how to be who you are, okay? They're challenged with that every day. It wasn't so long ago that they came into this world as themselves. And they know where they cut themselves short. They know where they get waylaid in this world. They know it. They still know it. They see right through the BS. So you guys need to be your own, you need to go back and be your own BS detectors. And what this person was who first came here, you need to look at this over here, and you need to identify what's wrong over here. You're going to find a lot wrong over here. You can't just find it. You've got to write it down. Part 3.
Okay, so Stacy, on the same vein there, you know, she pushes everybody away that bugs her.
Right.
They don't get it, so she pushes them out of her life. All right? That's the good news. Now here comes the news that, where did I say it? Yeah, it's been pretty lonely for her, and has been for a long time, when she has to push those people away.
I know, honey. I know. Believe me, I know. And Stacy, here's the good news. I'm going to tell you something really good about you. You protected yourself from investing in this nonsense over here, sacrificing yourself to be with people. You've really done a good job of not doing that. Okay, you're riding the fence. You're like in between. You really do know that this is not healthy, but what you need to do is work on this. You need to do the writing in part 3, okay? This is where you're going to flesh it out. You are going to have a very busy part 3. You're going to need to buy the other book for the part 3, my journal writing, just to write it all out. There's a lot in you that needs to come forth, that needs to show up on these pages. A lot. And once you see this, you're going to have a better grip on how you work in this world, because now this is coming back. Feels more safe to come back, okay? And come back into this world. You're going to be very selective about who you associate yourself with in this world, okay? You still will. I mean, I still am. I'm very selective of who I have in my life, so I can live the life I intended, so they don't get in the way of what I need to do this time around, all right? I mean the people that would take up my time and waste it, okay? That would do nothing but criticize me or whatever, okay? I don't have them in my life, Stacy. So it's okay not to have those people in your life, but you gotta make it okay. You gotta heal. Stacy, the real Stacy, the one that came here. You got to let that Stacy heal so it can be a part of this, okay? Right now, the Stacy that we're talking to, she ditched it. She took off. She's been gone for a while. She only comes out with you. So when you're alone and when you can be safe, that's when the real Stacy comes back. That's when you guys get to be together again. But you know what? You're not in balance. You got to learn how to pull this together. This is not easy, this life we live, you guys. And I want you to know that your spirit guides and angels, they know that. Why do you think they didn't come here? They didn't come here because they said, no, I don't want to put myself through that. But you know what? You knew you could do this when you first decided to come here and came into this life. Before this, bam,
okay,
caused you to retreat.
Let's get something straight about this group here.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Stacy. All these people bug her. She gets rid of them, pushes them out of her life, and now she's feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Okay. She's not feeling lonely. She's feeling alone, because lonely means feeling nobody cares about you. And this group, well, these people all care about you.
Oh, yes, definitely. You feel safe in this group. I know that all of you do. So you don't feel lonely or alone. You don't feel lonely. You feel alone, okay? I mean, I know that when she's not in the group, in your normal life and everything, you feel isolated. That's the right word
that's
for
the
it.
right word.
It's just an isolated feeling, and when you feel this, Stacy, it's guidance. It's your guidance letting you know that something is out of balance and you need to work this out. You can't go on like this. That's what they told me. And I kept working on it, and it was like, God, I worked on it, and I retreated again. and I worked on it, and I retreated again and again and again, and I kept retreating over and over again and again and again and again and again. I mean, you're going to feel the frustration of your pattern. You have a pattern that you've developed that's comfortable in spite of the fact that you feel lonely. There's a comfort in it, Stacy. It's the only comfort that you were able to conjure up in this lifetime so far. Okay, that's good. I like that. I like the fact that you haven't let the wrong people into your life. But that doesn't mean you should exclude everybody. That's a little extreme. But I get it, okay? I had to go through this too. I lived through this, and it took me, I was 50 years old before I really felt like I was in one piece in this world where I didn't push that away, deliberately, on purpose, to protect myself.
So you're alone when you come here into this life. You come in here just alone and raring to go.
You're not alone when you come here.
Well, your spirit guides followed you, but coming into this new world, all of a sudden, you're the center of attention until all these people start telling you, well, no, you can't be you. You have to do it this way. You can't do it that. You have to do this. You have to do that. And pretty soon, these outside influences, you either agree with them or not. Some of the things they tell you not to do rings true.
Okay, I want to say, great, Ray, because what Ray's talking about here is this has to do with controlling you.
Right.
So if you write anything in part 3 of your journal about what Ray if you explain it anywhere close to what Ray just said, your issue is going to be all about being controlled. You do not want that. That would be the profile of that personality and how that personality took that on. You don't want to be told what to do, and you won't be controlled. So that's going to play into the chapters 1 through 18 in part 2. It's going to either be rebellion, okay? It's going to be at the point where we did everything together, where you felt something going wrong with this connection you have with those that followed you here, your guides, okay? You're feeling like you're beginning to retreat. The real you is kind of moving out of the picture because it feels threatened by all this that's going on in this world, all right? You start writing down in part 3 to identify it first.
How it's working now.
What's going on with you. If you feel that, then being controlled is going to be one of your issues, period. It's going to be one of your issues. Mine was trust. Trusting people in this world, no way. I trusted me. My intuition, razor sharp, having this connection to my guides. I was very careful. That's what made me so good in business. But I was no good in personal relationships. I couldn't just be somebody who was on all the time, using my intuition, to gain an advantage in the marketplace, to know when to get in, when to get out, when to do, it's good. That's really good. But that's not the only. I'm not just here to be a business machine. We're here to have a life and be with people that are like-minded, that we care about and love, and that we see eye to eye. That's what you're looking for, Stacy, but you need to identify the injured part of you. And there's a lot of it there. It's going to flow right out of you. You're going to see what it is.
All these outside influences that ruin who you are. I heard a quote this week. I saw a quote somewhere, and I hope I can remember it. It's about this guy. He says, I love to go to big churches. He lives in a big city. He says, I love to go to big churches early in the morning and sit there all by myself, alone, before all the preaching starts.
He likes the feeling, the ambiance. He likes there's a certain sound, a certain...
Like a comfort. It's a comfort. It's you're there, you're there with your spirit guide. You're there with God or whoever.
Right.
There's a feeling when you walk into a big church. Yeah,
They're
especially a
really,
big old one.
yeah, yeah. There's energy there.
But he enjoyed it until the preaching started.
Yeah, he was connecting. Probably he was definitely connecting with
Right.
the right feeling. But we're going to figure this stuff out, you guys. We're going to get you through this. But start with the part 3 where you can just. Do we have all of the questions, Ray?
Yeah, we covered them all.
Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a few announcements here about what's going on tomorrow, what's going on in September, you guys, and what's going on next Tuesday. Okay, and then we're going to close the session with who do you think you are? Did you hear how I worded that differently? Instead of who do you think you are? See, your guides would never say that to you. They'd always go, who do you think you are? You know, because they know who you are. Okay. In fact, they know you better than you know yourself. Tomorrow, Wednesday, July 31st at 6 p.m. Pacific time, join me on my Facebook page right here, Linda Deir Author. This will be about when your ego is being tested. This is a time when being connected will make all the difference. If you react, then you are just in this world. If you take action with confidence, then you have help. Help from the other world, from your connection to your spirit guides. This is your superpower, and those who are testing you are going to sense it. So bring your questions. Using my guided journey, your spirit guides and I will help you with this, okay? All right. So mark your calendars for Saturday, September 7th. I will be live, Ray and I both, on location in Phoenix, Arizona at Storm Wisdom from 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. This event will be about making the connection to your spirit guides with Linda Deir. It's $35 and it includes a free paperback copy of My Guided Journey. Now that's a $15 value by the time you receive it from Amazon. So it's going to be very reasonable, and you're going to get so much out of it. When we work with you on a one-on-one in these type of situations, you guys are going to be crying. I mean,
Bring your tissues.
It's really powerful and loving, powerful and bonding, all right? So using My Guided Journey, your spirit guides and I will take you back through your life, enabling you to see where you were taught the wrong things that became the belief systems you unwittingly based your life decisions on. So taking this journey back, you will learn how to access your spirit family to improve your day-to-day decisions. You will track your progress using My Guided Journey and see patterns emerging like we talked about tonight. Accomplish what you came here to do in this lifetime. Eliminate fear and struggle in your life as you nurture this vital connection. Become a respected source of guidance for others. That's powerful. That's after you walked through the flames, all right? Came through it, got out the other side, and you know you have lived it, okay? All right, so to watch the video trailer and register for this event, click on the link in the description of this video, all right? You're going to find it in there. All right, so, Ray?
You guys have something to say?
We're going to go ahead and close this session about who do you think you are, okay? Not who do you think you are, all right? Because they would never treat you like that. That's right, Ray. They would never treat you like that. And here they go.
Who do we see that you are? You are who you came into this world as. However, you did change along the way because of society's pressures put on you to stifle you. When this happened, you saw yourself as a victim. That's good, because you now have somebody else to blame. You see, victims have no choice in the matter. You look to blame your parents or society. When you blame them, you don't feel too bad. When you start blaming yourself, you are halfway healed. And when you blame nobody, you have arrived.
So it's not that they're saying that it's good when you're a victim. It's that you think you're okay now. Now you don't have to take responsibility for it. You don't have to deal with it. And that's why a person stays a victim. It's too bad. You know, that's not why we came here. When you heal this thing and you actually stop blaming everybody, all right, and you realize the people that were here before you were, that really put this on you, you guys, they didn't mean it. Most of them didn't mean it. Some of them did. My mother meant it. Oh my God. She meant to hurt everybody in her path. Imagine that. That's just like insane. It literally is insane. But when you've been the injured party and you know that you feel alone, Stacy, you're still way back here, okay? When you start to write in your journal about what those triggers are, what those incidences are, what makes you feel like that under all these different conditions on each page, log it on each separate page, because otherwise it's going to be jumbled up and you won't be able to understand it. When you write it down, you're going to be able to then talk about how it feels, critical to the 4 qualifying questions in each one of these, on each one of these pages. How it made you feel after you write it down, after you identified it and wrote it down. You took the time and the energy to actually do that. To write about how it feels is going to be a snap. You're going to remember that. It's going to come back from over here, from when you in your early life. It's going to show up from that. That's where the seeds were planted. That's where this all started. Then you're going to realize what that was. And you're going to write that down in your journal. It's the 3rd qualifying question. And the 4th one is the most important one. What action are you going to take? What little action, what little step into bringing this back together are you going to take? I will tell you this. I'll give you guys a hint. That's really important to know. Don't tell anybody what you're doing. As you let yourself back into play, you let it come back into play, they won't even notice it if you don't say anything. Don't let this part of you get stared back and it retreat. Don't put it pressure on it like that. Keep it to yourself. Okay? And when you keep it to yourself and you see what happens when you actually come out, okay? Write that down in part 3. That's progress, okay? You first identify it and write it down, and then you start to see, after writing it down, you start seeing progress. It's a natural process, okay? join me tomorrow. Join Ray and I tomorrow. We're going to be talking about.
Boy, we had a active session last Wednesday, didn't we?
We really did. We're going to be talking about when your ego is being tested. You know, that ties into this pretty well. When your ego is being tested. Who do you think you are?
That has a lot to do with who you think you are, your ego.
Yeah, if somebody's sitting back going, who do you think you are? They're attacking you with their ego.
Right.
As your ego...
They're attacking your ego with their ego.
That's right. As your ego squirms and tries to survive it, all right? That's not you. That's you from this perspective. That's you without the real you. That part of you, that's exactly how it would react. But if you've got this together and you're in one piece, you will be connected and you will know how to handle the situation because it will come into your mind. It'll just show up. Where did that come from? That didn't come from you. You didn't know that over here, but you being connected and having this connection to those who followed you here, that part of you knows. And that part of you, if it needs a break, while this person here is attacking your ego with their ego, you just sit back and let them do it. Let them do it. They're not hurting you. You're giving yourself time for it to come into your mind. Okay? You're giving yourself that time. Over here, if this was all you, if this is the only place you reside, you'd react within seconds. You don't have to do that. This part of you knows better than that. It doesn't have to do that. Do you see how good this is? Yeah. Come tomorrow. We're going to help you guys with this. Bring your questions about any chapter in part 2 or anything in part 3 or anything in guided, okay? It's the guided journal writing system. It includes all 3 parts of the system. So everything's up for grabs, okay? But we're going to be talking about that ego that tests you, all right?
I'll be here tomorrow.
So will I.
Okay.
We'll see you guys
Good night,
then.
everybody.
Good night.